Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Glad to welcome you back to the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and welcome to this Tuesday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by Tuscaloosa Toyota, as it's a really busy week for the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and with Thursday being the Thanksgiving holiday, this will be our only show this week of Crimson Drive, again driven by Tuscaloosa Toyota. Check them out at TuscaloosaToyota.com as we start getting you ready for Alabama against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. We'll start by taking a look at our headlines that are presented by RJ Young. They furnished us with this smart board to go through all the headlines throughout Alabama athletics, and RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. First of all, on the show today, we will look back at the Arkansas win, as we'll have the booth cam highlights from our booth cam presented by Royal Furniture. You'll get to hear all the big moments and also see what it was like in the booth as Alabama clinched the SEC West with the victory over Arkansas last Saturday. Then we'll hear from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, as he had coach's checklist on Monday as part of his press conference. We'll also have a Hey Coach preview with Eli Gold as we're doing this show on Tuesday. Typically, we talk with Eli on the Thursday show, getting ready for that night's Hey Coach. This week with Thanksgiving, of course, coming up on Thursday, Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show will be coming your way on Wednesday night from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. We'll have Eli coming up, and then we'll get a preview of the Auburn Tigers as well as we get set for this year's edition of the Iron Bowl. Crimson Tide football team, again, a solid victory over Arkansas, 42-35, as Alabama becomes the SEC West champions. We know the Crimson Tide will take on the Georgia Bulldogs coming up in the SEC championship game in 2 weeks on December 4th. Bryce Young, Offensive Player of the Week in the SEC, as he had a school record 559 yards passing. We had Scott Hunter on the show last week. We talked about that great shootout Alabama had in 1969 against Ole Miss at Legion Field, where Scott threw for 484 yards. That record had stood since then. We had him on the show. He was an honorary captain inside Bryant-Denny Stadium the night that Bryce Young shattered his record, and he was obviously very happy for that. But what a performance by Bryce Young, and Henry To'oTo'o as well, SEC Defensive Player of the Week, as he led the charge for the Crimson Tide, leading Alabama in tackles in the Arkansas win. Now we're getting set for this Saturday, the Iron Bowl at Auburn, 2:30 p.m. Our radio coverage will start at 11:30 across the network, and even though Auburn has lost 3 straight, still this game has a great deal of meaning, and also for the Crimson Tide football team trying to keep momentum towards the SEC championship game and hopefully the college football playoff. It's also worth noting as well that Alabama is trying to win at Jordan-Hare Stadium for the first time since 2015. Some other headlines include a look at the Crimson Tide basketball teams, both men's and women's basketball getting set for busy weeks. As you look at the men's basketball team, 4-0 on the season, able to finish up the homestand with a great victory over Oakland last Friday night at Coleman Coliseum. A really fun win where Jeremy Shackelford eclipsed 1,000 career points in his career, also won the hard hat that night, so great performance by Shaq. Now this week, getting set for the ESPN Events Invitational in Orlando, as we'll have full radio coverage for the games on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, as the Crimson Tide will start their run on Thanksgiving Day, Thanksgiving afternoon, against the Iona Gales, if that sounds familiar. Alabama played Iona, of course, in the NCAA tournament in the first round just this past March. They're still led by Hall of Famer Rick Pitino, so that should be a great matchup to get the tournament going. And then on Friday, would take on either Belmont or Drake. And then Sunday, looking at some great matchups, could see former Crimson Tide head coach Anthony Grant, who has his Dayton team there. Miami is also on that side of the bracket, as well as the Kansas Jayhawks, who are playing great basketball once again this season. Now, the women's basketball team on Sunday had their first road trip of the year. They went to Fort Worth, Texas, and played in the Maggie Dixon Classic and fell right at the end to Duke. 74-71 was the final score. Megan Abrams' career high 25 points as the Crimson Tide came up just short at the very end of that ball game, but led most of the fourth quarter and had a great comeback as well after getting off to a slow start against Duke. So credit Christy Curry's team for playing really well in that ball game against Duke. Now this week, great opportunities at 3 wins against Mercer coming up on Wednesday, Western Carolina on Friday, as well as Bethune-Cookman, the matchup on Sunday. All games, of course, carried here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, as we're looking forward to more wins for Christy Curry and the women's basketball team. Speaking of wins, every time we talk about cross country, we're talking about wins, and with that, we're getting all these great honors for some of our great student athletes. Mercy Shalane got SEC Runner of the Year, as Elud Kipsang is the SEC Male Runner of the Year, and then Victor Kiprop taking home Male Freshman of the Year honors, as those that trio has produced just such a great season for the Crimson Tide in the fall. You know, they're going to have a great time coming up with track and field season coming up in the spring, but congratulations to those student athletes on those honors. And also swimming and diving setting 6 new school records at the Tennessee Invitational this past week. Avery Wiseman swimming really well for the Crimson Tide, along with Ryan White. So check that out at rolltide.com. Some of those great honors for the Crimson Tide swimming at the Tennessee Invitational. But as we get into the show, it's time to take a look back at the Arkansas win as Alabama picked up a 42-35 victory over the Razorbacks on Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Here's a look at our booth cam highlights presented by Royal Furniture.
Welcome back, everybody. Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa on a bright, sunshiny day. It's Alabama and the Arkansas Razorbacks getting set to go. And, of course, as you can imagine, this stadium is full of crimson and white. Those are the color schemes for both teams. So everywhere you go, you got to double check and see which A it is that the folks next to you are wearing. It's Alabama and Arkansas. Williams and Mechie go to the right side. Robinson to the left of his quarterback. Billingsley in motion, returns to the left of the formation. Here now, Bryce looks, throws the out route into the end zone. Mechie, he's got a touchdown, Alabama. He got the position on Monteric Brown, and 20 yards later, he receives a beautifully thrown pass, the 34th touchdown pass of the year for Bryce Young.
Unbelievable from Bryce. Perfect throw. Really good route for John Mechie on kind of a post corner. Starts inside and then runs right to the back pylon, and Bryce throws it on time after the play action. And it doesn't get any better than that. And Bryce Young getting going, 8 of 11, 124 yards. That one touchdown, but 89 yards already for John Mechie through the air.
Brian Robinson comes in. He'll go wide to the right side. So it's an empty backfield behind Bryce. He'll clap his hands, backpedals, has time here. Steps up, looks long. Jameson's got the man beat. He makes the grab at the 30. He's to the 20. He's to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Alabama. 79 yards. You could see that one coming as far out as about the 35-yard line. Jameson had both defenders beat, and Bryce laid a dime into his hands.
Bryce has gotten so much better as the years go on with those deep balls of just trusting it, anticipating, and right there, I mean, Jameson Williams, when you're even, you're leaving. And right there, he was even with the safety and ran right by him. Really good throw from Bryce, throwing him open for the touchdown score.
It finally gave him time for that to all develop.
You're exactly right. That was a play action fake, and Bill O'Brien's been setting this up. We're talking about these win routes where you go about 18 yards and stop right there, 18 yards, but on the way to the end zone was Jameson Williams.
On a 1st and 10 from the 32. Bama waiting. Bryce claps his hands. Loads up, throws across the middle. Williams, he makes the grab. He'll angle to the far side, 10. Turn it up the field, 5. And he'll roll further in for a touchdown. 32 yards. Bryce Young, Jameson Williams, touchdown, Alabama.
Arkansas once again showed blitz and brought 2 linebackers. Run pass option for Bryce. Fakes the handoff inside. Jameson Williams on the slant, and once he catches the ball, I don't know many people in the country that are going to be able to catch him.
Bama heading towards the end zone to our left, the one that says Crimson Tide across the middle. Christian Leary now checks in. He'll go to the wide side of the field on the left here. Leary, both a wide receiver and a running back of late. He'll come in motion, goes to the right side. Bryce gets the snap, looks. Still has time, takes off running. He's to the 10, then unloads right side. Leary, he's in for a touchdown. Oh my, what a play. 11 yards. Taking all the time in the world was Bryce Young.
Oh, all day long for Bryce Young. Nobody open downfield, but Christian Leary comes from his left wide receiver spot in motion, catches a full sprint as he gets right behind Bryce Young, able to stay in the flats, but really good job from Bryce. Noticing where the line of scrimmage was, actually looked out to the sticks, threw a little sidearm ball to Leary, and had everybody down in the end zone celebrating with after that touchdown. And Bryce has still got 6:45 left to go in this game to add to that stats, and we're going to need it. We're going to put some more points on the board. Got to have a touchdown on this drive.
Isn't it crazy to think that he's thrown for 515 or had before that throw, and you probably need 550 in order to win the game?
I mean, I know we talk about Heisman and MVP and most valuable player, but Bryce means so much to this team and what he's been able to do in just his first year starting.
Bryce, high snap, gets it. Evan Neal picks up the blitz, long throw. Jamison Williams, touchdown Alabama! Jamison Williams, touchdown, 40 yards. He beat the defense like a blur. And a beautiful throw, another 40-yard toss for Bryce Young.
So if they think it's wobbling a little bit, oscillating, if you will.
Very nice word, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Been working a way to get that in here for a couple weeks.
Again, the final today, Alabama 42, Arkansas 35.
Gives you an inside look at the fun that our guys have calling each and every Alabama football game, and you have a chance to watch the booth cam presented by Royal Furniture live for all Alabama football games, including coming up this Saturday as Alabama makes the trip to Jordan-Hare Stadium to take on the Auburn Tigers for the Iron Bowl. With the Iron Bowl in mind, it's time to hear from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, as he met with the media yesterday for his weekly Monday press conference, and now we'll let you listen in to the 3 key things you need to know about from that press conference as it's time for Coach's Checklist.
After reviewing the Arkansas game, we did a lot of really good things in the game, made a lot of explosive plays, really controlled the tempo of the game on offense. But there's always a little but, I guess. We made some critical mistakes in the game, whether it was on special teams, offense, defense, that never allowed us to really, put the game away. So those are things that we obviously need to correct, as I said, after the game, and things that we'll certainly address with our players. And I'm sure our players, want to make sure they get it right, and they're going to work hard to do it. Great to have a couple of our guys, Henry being the Waller Camp National Player of the Week, and Bryce, SEC Offensive Player of the Week. It's always great to see our players get, positive recognition for the types of games that they play, and both those guys were outstanding in the game. As you well know, the Iron Bowl is one of the best rivalries in the country. There's a lot of people in this state and all over the nation that have great interest in this game. A lot of people have a lot of passion for their schools, which is what makes this rivalry what it is. And, it's always a difficult place to play on the road when you go down to Jordan-Hare Stadium. So this is something that our players are going to have to really have a lot of respect for and do a great job of preparing. Auburn really has a good team. They've had some close losses. They've had some tough injuries, but I think T.J. Finley is a very good, capable quarterback who can make plays. He's big, he's got a strong arm, he's accurate with the ball. He's been in the offense all year long. He's got some experience. The running back, Tank Bigsby, is, as good as anybody in our league relative to his production, performance. He can make you miss. He runs behind his pads. Brian Harsin has done a really good job, I think, with this team. They present a lot of multiples on offense that are difficult to defend. They have a very good core of wide receivers, a lot of guys that have a lot of catches. They've got good tight ends. Their defense has played extremely well all year long. They're physical. They're very aggressive in the way they play. They create a lot of negative plays for the offense. And these guys are always good on special teams. I know they lost a great kicker, but their punter is really, really good. They got good returners. They play well on teams. So all the way around, this is a really, really good team. And I think, our players it's all about the players, when you play in this game. If you don't have success in this game, I don't care what else you accomplish in the season, there's always a but. And what comes after but usually isn't good. You've heard me say that before. So it's a big game for us to be able to continue to try to build some momentum, into the rest of the season. I think that, the guys that we have playing right now have the most experience, and they've gotten progressively better as the year has gone on. And Chris Owens has done a good job when he played right tackle. He did a good job when he had to play center, really on short notice in the LSU game. Getting Darian back last week was, probably a good thing. Gave Damian George an opportunity to play some right tackle, and he's done a pretty good job of that. But I can't see making other changes in the offensive line helping us improve our chances of being successful. Hopefully we can keep these guys healthy and keep them playing well.
Head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, meeting with the media yesterday, and coming up tomorrow, he will have one more press conference, and then it's time for Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show from Baumhauer's Victory Grill here in Tuscaloosa. Yes, a day early. We always do that on Thanksgiving week with the holiday coming up on Thursday, and the host of that show, Eli Gold, he's actually joining us 2 days early on Crimson Drive, driven by Tuscaloosa Toyota, as we normally have a Hey Coach preview with Eli coming up right before the show, only a few hours before, but this week we taped it a couple days early because Eli's got a very busy week, starting with Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show tomorrow night. I think you'll enjoy this conversation with Eli Gold as we prepare for not only that show, but also Saturday's Iron Bowl. Eli, roll tide. Happy Iron Bowl week.
Oh, thank you. Happy Iron Bowl week to you. It's always a week of anticipation, a lot of work, a lot of preparation, but looking forward to it. And of course, on Thursday, a chance to spend time with the family.
That's certainly very good. And that's been the tradition again for many, many years, having a Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show on Wednesday nights. And it's always important with the rivalry game. But like you mentioned, it is Thanksgiving as well. Always a great time to reflect as well on that show.
Really is. It's, there have been some great games. There have been great times with family. So that's what this week is ultimately all about. So, but yeah, it's been a short week. Everything's kind of condensed a little bit, and but I will have opportunities later in the week to finish up whatever work I haven't gotten done yet. So yeah, but it's nice. And what is this? Your first Thanksgiving as a married man?
Second one we got to enjoy last year. Yeah, but we'll be apart on Thursday with work.
Oh, I was going to say, is Landsey cooking the big turkey?
We had our celebration last night on Monday.
Did you really? Well, very nice. Folks, he's always a little bit different than the rest of us, but don't worry about it.
Certainly good. Well, something that's not different is Alabama playing great football, and the Crimson Tide, SEC West Division champions, taking care of Arkansas by a touchdown on Saturday. What were some of your big takeaways from the final home game?
Well, the biggest takeaway was the performance of Bryce. I mean, obviously, he did stuff that hadn't been done before in the history of the University of Alabama. So that was wonderful to see. There were a lot of guys who played well. I mean, Jamison Williams continues to play well. John Mechie now getting in gear. I thought Jaleel Billingsley played well. So yes, it was nice to see, and it came at the right time. Not that this game this week is not important, because obviously it is, but there was not that berth in the SEC championship game hanging in the abeyance. So that's taken care of now, and you can just go out and set your sights on beating the Auburn Tigers. And of course, this is a series. You're relatively new to this community, not brand new, but relatively new. And going back to when I started back in 1988, 89, I mean, there have been so many huge games, and they've usually been because both teams were nationally ranked. That was always another undercurrent to all of this. This year, of course, Alabama is the nationally ranked team. The Auburn Tigers struggling just a bit, but nevertheless, it's still the Iron Bowl, and that's the overriding factor. Records notwithstanding, it's still the Iron Bowl.
And you mentioned Auburn struggling just a little bit, and even without their main quarterback, Bo Nix, and without Anders Carlson, who's such a good kicker, there's still talent all over this roster, despite of how the last few weeks have gone.
Yeah, there's no question about it. You don't know what Brian Harson's going to pull out of the bag. I mean, maybe he'll resurrect some of those plays they used to run out of Boise State. I don't know what they're going to do, but yeah, it's still a talented team. Tank can run the ball. That there's no question. he's a starting running back for anybody in the Southeastern Conference, and on the list goes. So yeah, it's going to be a tough ball game, and the atmosphere is going to be sky high. The emotion will be sky high. Auburn would like nothing better than to knock Alabama off a potential playoff perch, though that might or might not happen. But you know what I'm saying? It's a big game, and there are so many underlying factors that the fans will be going through the roof when we kick it off at 2:39 on Saturday.
What have been some of your favorite memories in that stadium?
Well, I'm glad you said favorite.
Yeah, we have some bad ones, but yes.
If you had said memorable, there were some memorable ones, but they were not good. The first one was 1989 because that was the first time the game was played at Jordan-Hare. The atmosphere, as crazed as it has been over the years, it was ratcheted up even an extra notch that day because it was the first time that the series hadn't been strictly at Legion Field, but indeed was moving to on campus. So, that was great. Obviously, the Van Tiffen game in Birmingham, I didn't call that one. Paul Kennedy and Doug Layton did, but that 52-yard field goal, for the win was huge. I thought the 2009 Alabama victory where, the Tide had to get a score and they, 7 minutes, they went 79 or 80 yards. And, it was, McElroy found Upchurch for the touchdown. I remember that one vividly. So there have been a lot of memorable games, some positive, some negative, but that's what this rivalry series is all about.
It certainly is. Crimson Tide looking to get their first win down in the Plains since 2015. And now we're getting ready for Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show again coming up tomorrow on Wednesday night. What can you tell us about the show for the people that are making their way to Baumhauer's?
Not a darn thing, because as you and I are sitting here talking, I still don't know exactly what our guest lineup is going to be, other than Nick Saban, obviously, will be on with us at 7 o'clock. Not quite sure. They're trying to piece things together for that first half hour because a lot of coaches have things going on. They've got responsibilities with family and so on. But we'll get it all pieced together in time for Wednesday night, and we'll have it all put together for a nice, tidy 90-minute show. But the one thing I do know is that Coach Saban is going to be with us, and that's always a lot of fun.
That's most important, along with you as well. We're looking forward to it coming up on Wednesday at Baumhauer's. Eli, just thank you for spending some time with us on Crimson Drive, and a very happy Thanksgiving. Look forward to talking with you later in the week for the Iron Bowl.
Thank you so much, and I know you've already celebrated, but if you get a chance to celebrate again, grab a wing for me.
Sounds good. Thank you, Eli. Roll Tide.
All right, Roger. Roll Tide.
Always great to catch up with Eli again. Hey Coach, and the Nick Saban Show presented by Alpha Insurance coming your way tomorrow, 6:30 on Wednesday at Baumhauer's Victory Grill. It'll be streaming live here on our Facebook page as well as all across our radio network and the Varsity Network app. So make sure you tune in for Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show coming up on Wednesday of this Iron Bowl week. Well, we typically like to hear from the opponent broadcaster for the Auburn Tigers, but we had a tough time just getting schedules lined up together, basketball, football overlapping at the same time. So mentioned in the show earlier that we would have the other booth with Auburn. We will have that coming up on the radio for you on Saturday, but we wanted to have a few moments here with two key Alabama players, Bryce Young, Will Anderson Jr., as they both had press conferences with the media yesterday, and we have a coach's checklist, if you will, for both of those young men. First of all, Bryce Young, and then Will Anderson Jr. talking about Iron Bowl week.
Yeah, I've heard, I've definitely heard a lot of stories about how intense it is, how loud it is, how crazy an environment it is. So that's something that we know going in. It's obviously a huge rivalry, means a lot, to everyone in the state. It means a lot to us. And we understand that we're going to a hostile environment. But, just as far as what I've heard, I've heard they're very spirited. It's a really loud place to play. So, we just have to prepare for that. Yeah. Metch and J-Mo have been playing really well. They've been playing well all year, and then it's because a lot of the stuff that they do and they do well is stuff that might not show up on the stat sheet, but they've really been consistent all year in practice. You can see when it, you see how it translates because of how hard they both work in practice. So, having weapons like that, makes my job a lot easier. So, definitely been, it's definitely fun to have those guys out there, and we're all just improving and getting better and still working to maximize our potential as an offense. Yeah, the Iron Bowl is always been a staple of college football for a while. So me even being from California and not being in the South, that still I'd always known about it, always heard about it. It's always something that's been talked about nationally. So it's something I was well aware of, even as growing up and being a young college football fan. I'm in California, so and then now being in it. And obviously being a part of it and seeing how much it means to everyone, seeing how much it means to us, coach, staff, players, everyone around the building. It definitely it resonates even deeper than when I was back home. But it's something that I've always been aware of, and it's something that as a team we take very, very seriously.
I've heard the crowd is going to be rocking. It's going to be a live stadium. The fans are something else, but we just try to approach every game like how we get ready on Thursdays with crowd noise and everything. So I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a good atmosphere, and we're ready for the challenge. When I first got here, I knew it was serious. Like before, because I didn't really know anything about Alabama football. Like I was from Georgia, so. But when I first got here and I seen how you go to Walmart and they have a small section, just a very small section of Auburn stuff, and it's one shirt on the aisle, one shirt. And I said, oh yeah, this is serious. There's no way that they don't play when it comes to the Iron Bowl. So I think that's the only experience I had when I seen that, just one shirt. It was a rack, and that was the only thing. It was just surrounded by a whole bunch of Alabama stuff. Oh, most definitely. I knew from the first time I met Bryce at All-American, I knew he was gonna be a Heisman contender. Bryce is very smart. I'm pretty sure you guys can see on the field, but outside, I've had classes with Bryce, everything. Bryce is a smart person, and his ability in the football field is even more surprising. He's very smart on the field. The numbers that he's putting up, the stats that he have this year, everything of how he handled everything, especially last year. I feel like he's a great person on and off the field, and he's very, 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 very talented.
Great to hear from Alabama quarterback Bryce Young, as well as linebacker Will Anderson Jr. as they've been picking up awards all throughout the season. We expect more of that coming down the road for those two. Just exceptional young men and great representatives of this Alabama football program. We hope you enjoyed a player's checklist, if you will, for this week, getting ready for the Iron Bowl. Speaking of getting ready, it's time to take a look at our very, very busy weekend schedule that we have coming up here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. And it all starts with Wednesday night Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show, presented by Alpha, coming at 6:30 p.m. from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. And also, there is a women's basketball game here in Tuscaloosa coming up tomorrow night against Mercer. That is coming your way at 6 p.m. Radio coverage at 5:55 for the Crimson Tide against the Mercer Bears. Then on Thursday, Thanksgiving Thursday, the men's basketball team will be the only team that is in action, taking on Iona. The Iona Gales in the first round of the ESPN Events Invitational. Our radio coverage will start at 3 p.m. Central coming up on Thursday. And then Friday, we don't know exactly what time Alabama men's basketball will play. It depends on a win or a loss against Iona in the first game, but all of that information will be on our social media networks as well as RolledTide.com. We do know the women's team will take on Western Carolina at 2 p.m. from inside Coleman Coliseum. And then on Saturday, it's the Iron Bowl. Alabama against Auburn. Our radio airtime will be at 11:30 a.m., leading you right up to kickoff at 2:30 p.m. Full post-game coverage as well, as we look forward to Alabama against Auburn on Saturday. Sunday, Chris Stewart and Nick Saban will recap that ball game on the Nick Saban television show. Check your local affiliates. That'll also be available on demand later on RolledTide.com and the University of Alabama Athletics Facebook page and YouTube account. And then Sunday, men's basketball will close out play at the ESPN Events Invitational, and something that a lot of basketball fans, and certainly we're hoping for as well, a potential matchup with possibly the Kansas Jayhawks. We could see Anthony Grant and the Dayton Flyers, as so many good matchups could be coming your way from the other side of the bracket at the ESPN Events Invitational in Orlando. And then women's basketball will close out a very busy weekend, taking on Bethune-Cookman. That'll be at 1 o'clock with radio coverage starting at 12:55 coming up for that ball game between Alabama and Bethune-Cookman. And then on Monday, it'll be the final Crimson Tide rewind of the season at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills with Eli Gold and Corey Reamer breaking down the Iron Bowl, plus looking ahead to the SEC Championship game, as we're at the end of the regular season with this upcoming game against Auburn. But we know there's postseason in Alabama's future, starting with the SEC Championship game on December 4th. It's going to wrap up this very busy edition of Tuesday's Crimson Drive, driven by Tuscaloosa Toyota. Again, check them out online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. Certainly glad you were able to join us today. We thank Eli Gold for his time previewing Hey Coach, and we'll have so much more content coming up throughout the week. We just gave you the schedule. Football, men's and women's basketball, extremely busy, so make sure you like the Crimson Tide Sports Network on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for all the latest news. Special thanks to our producer, Ethan Carabin, putting this show together. Thanks to all of you for watching. Hopefully you will have a very great Thanksgiving holiday with your friends and family, and then rest up and get ready for the Iron Bowl on Saturday as Alabama looks to complete the regular season with a win against the Auburn Tigers. Until then, have a safe rest of your Thanksgiving week. So long, everyone, and roll Tide.